Yeah, perfect.
There we
Well,
go.
thanks, Jenny. Do you want to do any sort of intro, or do you want me to dive right into it?
Well, sure, not a problem. So thank you very much, Barret of Jobber, for joining us today. We're going to talk about how to make our lives easier in with our field services clients. It's a wonderful application that integrates seamlessly into QuickBooks Online. There's so many more features here, and I'm also learning when it comes to Jobber as well. So I appreciate everybody taking this journey with me. And Barret, if you want to take it away, I'll monitor the chat
Yeah.
here, and let's get started.
Perfect. And yeah, and I think just on that point, in terms of you monitoring the chat, Jenny, if anybody has any questions, I try and be super conversational and am very open to going off on little tangents here and there. So don't be shy to ask questions, throw in notes about the chat, and we will, I'll make sure to answer as many as I can. So we'll just get right into it. Here's a quick picture of my face. So I am Barret. I'm part of the Jobber Advisor team. So we've developed a program here at Jobber that's really, we've formalized it in the last 6-7 months or so, where we're really connecting with pro advisors. So I'll make sure that you have my contact information after this webinar. But you know, my role here is to make sure that our pro advisors are getting the support you need so you can be successful with Jobber. So again, I'll make sure you get my contact information after the webinar, and we'll get right into Jobber. So what is Jobber? So I'm going to give you a word definition here, and then we'll unpack it a little bit. Jobber is a business management solution for field service companies. And I actually heard Jenny, you were on a webinar with, or a video with Jeff Bourgeois, and you called it a bit of a super app. And it's true, it does a lot. And so that's really where the business management solution part comes in. You know, a lot of the pro advisors, myself, you know, I work in technology, we work with a number of different apps, but for the ideal Jobber customer, they're mostly working with Jobber. It's really helping them run their business. So it does a little bit of everything. And we're going to get into that. It goes right from the business development side for these field service companies, right through managing the work orders, and then finally getting paid at the end. And we are going to dive into the software a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. But before we get into that, what do I mean when I say field service companies? So who are Jobber customers? So there's a number of different companies that we define as field service. So cleaning companies, landscapers, lawn care. I've got a list there. Jenny, like you mentioned earlier, window washers are a great example of what we would define as a field service company. And really, I'm going to give you an even more broad definition. Companies where teams work out in the field. So Jobber works really well when people are running to appointments, taking care of a certain task and needing to mark it as complete. Just a little caveat there, just in terms of full transparency, Jobber is not a project management software. So home builders, large construction companies, probably not a good fit. We're a really good fit with people that do high quantity of work. So that's like your window washers. They're probably going to 6 jobs a day or more. What we're not good is a home builder where it's one job spread out over the course of a year. And what does Jobber help with? A lot of things, and we will get into the software like I mentioned, but you know, it's in terms of technology and moving everything into the cloud, it helps with lost paperwork. Everybody works, you know, in the field service company, they're going to be working with Jobbers. So they're all going to have access to the same data. So that helps with the communication, the data management, accessing all the customer information, really organizing the business. And then that last bullet point is cash flow, which, you know, a lot of these companies have been doing business through handshakes for quite some time or offline. And with Jobber, you can take payments right in the field. You can invoice as soon as jobs are complete. You don't have to worry about going back to the office, printing out a hard copy invoice and mailing it out. So there's a lot of things that, that Jobber can help with here. So we're going to get right into the software. So I mentioned that it's this full business management solution. So Jobber works really well. I like to kind of say it works really well in 3 separate areas. Before the job, so that's the business development side. Jenny, you were talking about your window washers saying, I've got to track locations and customers. And And Jobber is really good at managing that before you've even got the job. Business operations, so that's a lot of the communication between your customer internally, all of that information. And then lastly, invoicing and e-payments. That's that getting paid faster part that I talked about. So let's get right into the software. On the business development side, there's a few things that I really like. We've got a full customer history of everything that you've got, all your customers. If you think of a landscaper, for example, maybe they've got paper files and just all these file folders of all their customers. We now have a full customer history for them. We've got professional quotes and internal reminders. So I'm going to just hop over to Jobber here. And Jenny, thumbs up if you can still see my screen. It's I've moved over applications. All good? Perfect. So this is Jobber. So I'm going to show you on the business development side. I mentioned you've got that full customer history. So we've got a full CRM here. We can search. I don't know if we have a Jenny in the database in my test account. We don't.
You don't
but I'm gonna
have me in your database? What's wrong with you?
If I was prepared, I would have added a Jenny more. Hindsight, I guess. But I know we definitely have a Smith. I'm going to look up a Smith. So in this example, your field service clients, whether they be the window washer, the landscaper, the cleaning company, they're getting a phone call from a client. And so they want to be able to find that client as soon as possible. So right from the client tab, they can see, we're going to pull up Stone Smitham here. And you've got all the information you have about this particular client. You've got all the locations, any active work that you have with them, past quotes, past jobs, past invoices. Do they have any overdue payments with you? If you're accepting a phone call from a client and they want to be quoted on something, you definitely want to know, are they paid up? Are they up to date? Right up top here, you've got all your customer information that may be important to the team out in the field. So this is all customizable. So we've got phone number, email address. You might have a buzzer number for a landscaping company. Sometimes we might just want a little checkbox in the field. Do they have a dog? Yes or no. That's something. I have a dog, for example, and he's always out in the yard. And we had a little bit of work done at our house last year, and they wanted to know that because they don't want to leave the gate open. All those little things, and this is all customizable. So the team in the field has all the information they need when they're going out to a job.
Well, yeah, because there's also security things, right? Like there's also a security code or PIN code or something to get in. You may need to actually do that. You think of a cleaning service.
Absolutely. Like your residential cleaners, is there, and this is a different type of technology, but with some of the home automation, is there a key code to get in that changes on a weekly basis just for the cleaner? Do they keep their key under the doormat? Is the customer always at home? These are the things that, before Jobber, and of course there's other ways to do this, but it really eliminates some of those phone calls back to the office. I can't get into the house. I can't find this. So everything I'm showing you here, you can see on the mobile app. We're not going to go into the mobile app today just because we have limited time, but it is a really nice, easy to view all the information that your team needs. And then lastly, I'll just say internal notes and attachments. So that's something like if, maybe it doesn't fit within a certain field, but dog is super friendly, bring treats, whatever that might be, right? And my dog is super friendly. My dog is too friendly. He, especially if they have treats. So the other point on the business development side, I just really wanted to talk about quickly was the professional looking quotes. So we take a phone call from Stone here. I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a quote. Now I'm going to move pretty quickly through this because I want to keep this really high level in terms of what does Jobber do well. Of course, if you'd like a more in-depth demo, anybody that's on the webinar, happy to take you through it. But we're just going to pick this location here. I'm just going to do test job for Jenny webinar. We're going to add our products and services. All of this can sync over right from QBO, so your products and services just come over very easily. And then I'm going to save the quote. So what I really wanted to show you here, again, a lot of these companies are working out in the field. Maybe their quotes are on pen and paper. We've got a really nice quote PDF view. We've got a few different templates. So it looks really sharp. So this is just the quote I just put together, right? So of course you can print that off and mail it. We always encourage people to be online, but baby steps, I suppose. You can email this quote directly from Jobber. And then the other thing that I really like about this part of Jobber when it comes to the business development side is when you go to this work tab here, you're going to see all your active work. And I'm going to know, you know, let's say I just created this quote on April 12th. I actually just saved it as a draft. I didn't mark it as sent. That's okay for this example. You're going to see all the quotes that are left on the table, right? So if somebody's out in the field, a landscaper's out in the field, you know, they end up talking to somebody's neighbor. Yeah, here's a quote. They don't have a record of that, but this gives you an electronic record. I know that I sent this quote on March 30th. I'm going to pull this up. I'm going to give them a call because I want to land this business. So you always know what money you're leaving on the field.
I think that's wonderful. If I could just compliment you on that, I think that's wonderful because it's also like leaving money on the table, right? If you don't follow up with your clients are naturally, like they'll put out a question because of a need, but they have no problem just stalling, right? So it's nice to have that follow-up feature. I think it's nice to see that workflow. So good job on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm super guilty of it. I ask for a quote for something online, whether it be a landscaper or whatever it might be. And then, you know, I do that on a Sunday because that's when I'm doing things. And then during the week, they email me back and I don't get to my email because it's the week and I'm busy. And so I have received phone calls, maybe not exactly a landscaper, but you forget. So, so absolutely. Cool. So let's, we'll move on. So that's the landing the job part. You know, got a really nice quote. I didn't touch on the internal reminders, so you can actually set it in Jobber. If X number of days go by without a quote being approved, you actually have a new task in Jobber. You've got a reminder, so we're not going to let you forget that. And then we did cover the full customer history. So then we're going to get into the guts of Jobber. Really, Jobber is built around work orders. That's actually one thing where Jobber can turn something like QBO into this full business management solution because the work orders is what the team out in the field is going to see. So we've got those work orders. The team's always going to know what they need to do. That helps with the communication. I think I've got my bullet points a little out of order here. The work orders help with that communication. But then also scheduling and dispatch. So I'm actually going to go into creating a job really quickly and just what the different schedule looks like. So we call Stone here. Stone, it's been 10 days since I've heard from you. And so we're just going to convert this to a job, right? And then when we're on the phone with Stone, we can pick a start date. And I'm actually going to just pick it for today. And I'm going to create this job. Of course, I can add or remove line items if things have changed since the quote. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to head to my calendar because the calendar and scheduling is so important for these companies. It can be a big challenge. So I'm going to go to my grid view really quickly. I've got a few filters set. So my team of myself, Alex, who's in sales, and Nick and Zach are in my department. So I've got this job for Stone, and I know that Alex is booked up in the morning. Nick and Zach are booked up the entire afternoon. We'll say that this is going to be just an hour job. I can slot it in here for Zach. And so it's this really nice dispatch view. I've kind of gone the long way about showing you how to create quotes and jobs. Sometimes you're going to get a phone call or your clients are going to get a phone call and they're going to want to schedule a job right away. Let's say it's a plumber or an electrician, something that's a little bit more of an emergency. We don't need to create a quote. I can pull up my grid view and I can say, okay, Nick is available in the morning, but we're going to need a few hours. Let's send Alex out there. I'm going to click on here, create a new job. All right. So I really like this dispatch view.
I think that's incredible. It's really important to have scheduling, especially when you're dealing with multiple teams as well, right? It can be quite tricky to do that manually.
Yeah, you know, and that's actually where Jobber really started. Our feature set continues to grow, but at its core, Jobber is a scheduler, you know, for those teams that are out in the field. Mm-hmm. So A couple other views. I'll show you the month view and the week view. These are more for your administrators. What do we have going on the month or the week? On the mobile application, we can set permissions so that Alex only needs to see his schedule. So it's going to show up that you've got to be at this job at 9 a.m. He can click in. He can get all the information he wants. And then one more view I just wanted to show really quickly is we've got this anytime view, anytime, not view, jobs that can be done at any time. So good examples of that would definitely be your landscapers, probably your window washers. When you're thinking about window washing, they probably don't have a specific time. They need to be there at 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock. So we have anytime jobs. So what comes in really good handy here is the map view. So I've got a few jobs assigned to myself. And you're going to see these jobs can be done at any time. And I've labeled them all as test jobs. And quite often, let's say you've got a landscaping company as a client that's doing 15, 20 jobs a day and per crew, and they don't necessarily, it doesn't matter what time they go. One of the big challenges for jobber customers is, okay, are we going to be driving all around the city to organize this? What's the most efficient way that we can drive to these customers? So this map view is really great. You can just select one of these, click route from here, and it's actually going to route the quickest, most efficient way to get to those jobs. And then it's going to order everything here. So it's a really great view. I know that this is a little bit of a silly example because I've only got 3 jobs. And they're all about the same distance apart. But when you've got 20 jobs, and I'm looking at Edmonton, we're based in Edmonton. If we've got 20 jobs scattered all around here, you're going to start getting into situations where you don't necessarily know where you need to be. So again, you just click on that, route from here, and this is something that is saving, the dispatch people, a solid hour, sometimes more in the morning in terms of creating maps and routing that for the team in the field.
So if I could just pause game for a quick second. So going back to the pre-game show when we were talking about the window cleaning business that's come to me to build an ecosystem. In theory, this would be really great to have this map feature because, in 1 hour, they might do maybe 2 locations depending on how close they are. So, in theory, they could have several, possibly under 20 locations a day for one individual within a geographical area. What kind of tools could the employees use in this case? So can you expand on how this can be used on a mobile application on an iPhone or an Android device?
Yeah, absolutely. So everything I am showing you here, you can do in mobile. So let's make the assumption that the field technicians, they wake up and they go to work and they're not too worried about the administration in terms of where do I need to be. They want to be told where to go. So in that example, let's say I've got 20 jobs here. They're all around Edmonton. The administrator comes in a little bit before, or they do it at the end of the day. They would assign jobs to each crew. And then they would, instead of then saying, okay, now I need to create an order for them, they click on here, they route from here. And then as soon as this is done, and it happens instantaneously, it'll take a few more seconds if we.
Not a problem. It appears we just lost Barret for a quick moment here.
Then I'm going to go to Margarita's house. That's a tricky test name. Then we're going to go to Davian's place. So it's going to work.
Barret, if you can hear me, I think we've just lost audio on you.
We talked about in terms of if they have a dog. Sorry, Jenny, and I think I cut you off there.
That's okay. I'm just wondering if we're having some technology issues. It would appear that the audio is just cutting in and out a little bit. I just want to make sure that everybody on the webinar can still hear. Let's try it again.
Sure. So I'll go back to this view. So did we go over how this part on the left, all the field technicians would be able to see that?
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So there, I had audio issues with you too, so I'm glad it wasn't just me. That makes me feel better. They're going to be able to know exactly where they need to be. That's put in the order by the administrator. And then in the mobile app, they can just click in, okay, Isaac, where do I need to go? They'll click on the job. It's a really nice mobile view. They see the address. They see the customer details, all the information that we would have entered before in terms of the buzzer number, the code, those things would be here. And then also the work order. So I mentioned, for a window cleaning company, if it's commercial, my guess is they're probably just going to be cleaning windows. If it's residential, maybe they're cleaning the gutters. They're doing some stuff up on the roof as well. So they're kind of a jack of all trades built around window cleaning. So all those work orders are going to be here. So to bring it back full circle, when you ask what does this mean for the field technician, it means that their schedule is right in front of them, and all the information that they need is just at their fingertips. So hopefully no phone calls back to the office, a very clear schedule, mapping directions. It's going to be the most efficient route for them. So it's just going to help them be more efficient, do more work, and spend less time trying to figure out what to do.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, perfect. So that really goes over kind of that owning the job piece. So I'm going to just touch on the last kind of third part. Now the job is done. You've got a new problem. It's the best problem to have, but it's the collecting money problem. Exactly. And so Jobber has invoicing, electronic payments. It allows for electronic payments, and you can collect payments in the field. So Jobber really does help with that cash flow management. So I'll just show you a couple of screens here really quickly. I'm going to go back to the work page. I love this page so much because it says, where are things at, right? So we've talked about the quotes, right? When we turn that quote into a job, this number went from 1 down to 0, right? This right here shows us how many jobs require invoicing. So in the case of your window washing company, Jenny, where you said they're doing 20 jobs a day, because they're doing that many jobs, they're probably not collecting payments in the field. Jobber certainly allows for that. Maybe if you're doing landscaping, that's a 6-hour job, right? It's probably, there's more hands-on with the customer, but for window washing, they're moving quick and they're hustling. So you've got, this number might be up to 20 by the end of the day, and by the end of the week, it's at 100. So this is a reminder to you, let's keep this number as low as possible, helps the administrator back at the office know what needs to be invoiced for. So a couple points really quickly. When this number does get up to 100, it's very easy to do batch invoicing. It's just a couple clicks through Jobber. You don't need to go through each invoice individually, and I can actually just quickly show you how to do that.
Yeah, I'd like that.
You just go, yeah, so you go into invoices here, batch actions, invoice multiple jobs at once, create invoice. And so I've got 2 invoices that I need to invoice for. So you just really go down, okay, yeah, I'm going to invoice for that. And then I'm going to make these invoices. It thinks a little bit. And so for those, that example of the 100 invoices that we need to make, you don't need to go into each one, print it off. You can just do this batch invoicing. It saves our customers a ton of time, and then they can email those invoices right away. So I'm not going to send them out because I think I have real email addresses associated with real email addresses associated with those customers, and I don't want to send out these pretend invoices. But then they're going to go into draft status. So then we can, mark them as sent. We can email them off. As soon as you print it, it will be marked as sent, and then it's going to go into the awaiting payment bucket. And really quickly, I'll just touch on this final part. Like a reminder to you to invoice and a reminder to follow up on your quotes. This part here is a reminder to make sure you're getting paid. So who owes you money and is overdue. So it gives you that really nice high level view there. We can mark paid right from here. And like everything in Jobber, I'm going to just accept this as cash. But then this payment this invoice, it's all going to sync back to QBO. So that's one of the things that, our advisors that we're working with, they love. I've talked to people before they brought a client onto Jobber, and they've just said, we just did so much paperwork and hounding our client for paper, and this keeps things really organized for them. So that's yeah. Sorry, was there a question, Jenny?
No, I think that's incredible. There are a couple of questions that are coming in, but I'll let you finish your train of thought.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's really it. I do want to talk quickly about our Jobber Advisor program, how my role connects with the pro advisors. But if there are a few questions, and I know I have a tendency to ramble on a little bit, so it's getting close to quitting time.
That's okay. Like I said, with many individuals, we have our efficiency apps, and then we have our powerhouse apps. Jobber is is a powerhouse application. So obviously it has a little more, there's so many more features than what we've been able to cover today. And we try and keep into half an hour just to respect the time for everybody here. But I do want everybody to follow up with Barret, definitely to gain more insight with how this particular application can fit. But I do have two questions that have come up.
Sure.
And more.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, here they come. Okay, I'm ready for them. Here they come.
Okay. So the first one, this is a really good question. So is there a place to enter parts when the individual's on site, or if there's meeting parts? So like if you're able to diagnose the question maybe back at the office, if there's somebody who's sort of on the phone diagnosing something, can we put in what is required to pick up parts maybe at Home Depot or Lowe's before the individual, the tradesperson, in this case, plumber, is being used as an example, to go to the site?
For sure. So in that example, there's not necessarily a field where you would tell them that they need to go pick up parts. In the calendar, you can we differentiate in the calendar between jobs and tasks. And this is just Jobber terminology. Jobs are something that you get paid for. Tasks are something that you don't. So you could certainly schedule a task before the job to go to Home Depot or go to Lowe's and pick up a particular part. So absolutely, on the scheduling side, we can definitely do that. It wouldn't necessarily live in the work order, but it would live in their calendar, absolutely. Okay. And then just on that note too, so I'm looking at a work order on my screen. These are both services, but let's say if it's a plumber, let's say it's a pipe, for example, we can add those products here. You would have the quantity, and then when that is used, we don't do inventory in Jobber, but that does sync back to QBO. So if you've got part X, you use 4 of them. As soon as you do your QBO sync, that will be reflected in your QBO inventory.
Perfect. Okay, that's a good question. And just to reiterate, one of the, actually there's a couple of questions here coming through, is just confirming, and I believe the answer is true, is that yes, a field services individual can create an invoice on site and be paid on site for that task. So when I think about the furnace that was installed in my farmhouse here, they installed this $3,000 furnace and said, "See you later, Mrs. Moore. We're going to send you an invoice in the mail." I couldn't believe it. I'm like, you just put a huge honking furnace and you don't want my money? So, do you want to elaborate on how that is solved?
For sure. So the answer to the question is 100% yes. Everything you've seen here today can be done from the mobile app. So basically what you would do is from the mobile app, and I can just do this here, I would close this job, right? Mark it as complete. And then in the mobile app, you would be prompted, would you like to collect payment, right? So you collect payment. So if you use Square, for example, you got the e-reader there. You can plug that into the phone, whether it be phone or iPad, absolutely. And just I'll elaborate a little bit more. Everything you're seeing here can be done in the field, but we also have a really good permission set. So if you've got some people that you don't necessarily want them to see the pricing or all the information, you just want them to see your schedule, no problem. If you have a more senior person out in the field and they should be able to generate invoices, quotes, payments, all those things, they can do that as well. So absolutely.
Good job. Okay, and I don't believe this is so, but we have many online platforms now where a client can accept through an electronic signature a quotation. I don't believe that's what your application does, but maybe if you want to confirm or
yeah, and so we're talking about accepting a quote. Is that correct?
That's right. Like I have, as a plumber, have sent a quote to a client, and before I proceed in going to their home to fix the issue, that they have signed off on the quote via an electronic signature.
We do not have the electronic signature portion. You can create a quote through Jobber and email it electronically. Right now, we don't have a little button that says accept, and I want it really bad. So it is something that will be on our roadmap eventually, but I don't have any sort of ETA on it. No.
Perfect, not a problem, but it was a very good question. So thank you for posting that. I think we're at the end of our questions. So for the mentees that are on the call as part of the Intimate Mentoring Program, we have a fairly large section later in the mentoring program where we talk about social media. And one of the important things about social media is following third-party applications such as Jobber. So Barret, maybe you want to take it away as to how people can find you and stalk you on social media.
Absolutely. So you can find us on Twitter at GetJobber. I'll pull it up here on the screen. Oh, I'm logged in an incognito window. This is embarrassing.
That's okay. It's at GetJobber, not at Jobber. At GetJobber.
At GetJobber, you betcha. And then we're also on Instagram as GetJobber as well. That's kind of actually fun if you want to see a little bit behind the scenes of Jobber. Our Instagram channel is less about talking to our customers and more just like, what the heck is going on at the Jobber office? So on Pi Day, so March 14th, so 3.14, it was Pi Day. We brought a bunch of pie into the office and took pictures of us eating pie and things like that. So everything is GetJobber, and you can certainly find us there.
Well, I did say how to stalk you, and you certainly answered that question. So.
Yeah, we love to be stalked.
It's like the spy cam, it's the nanny cam at Jobber.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. And so everybody, Barret, if you're available to take your calls and whatnot, please follow up. It is an interesting application. Even if you are a small practice starting out, it's best to know about these applications beforehand. For instance, I knew about it before I had a client come to me as well, and just thinking about their pain points. We started realizing, this was the window cleaning service, we started realizing, even though they hadn't mentioned the field services being an issue, it was quickly identified as being an issue once we started looking at their entire workflow. So before they were using the Rolodex, hopefully in the near future, they're going to be using Jobber instead. So I'm really interested to see where this path takes us.
Yeah, looking forward to it for sure. And one kind of last thing I'll say, just in terms of reaching out to me, of course, we will follow up with everybody. But, our advisor program, again, is really about connecting, you pro advisors with the technology. Our program has been out for about 6-7 months, and we're always looking for feedback. How can we make it a better experience for you? How can we make it a better experience for your clients? We really want to connect you with technology and make sure that you're getting the most value out of it. And we also want, Jenny's not aware of this one yet, but I'm putting out our advisor newsletter for this month, and we've got some new features and integrations that we're looking for beta users on. So we want to reach out to our advisors so that they're the first ones to be aware of that. So, if you have any questions about that, always feel free to get in touch with me or stalk me on the Jobber Instagram. Just ask for Barret, and then and then whoever's running our Instagram at that day will tell me that I've got to follow up.
Awesome. And I know I'm catching you off guard with this. Individuals, I know, attendees, I know we're going a little bit past 12:30. Feel free to sign off. I'm not going to take any, any negligence or I'm not going to be concerned about that. One thing I do want to talk about is safety net. Can you just
absolutely.
provide just a high-level overview as to what safety net is as it's developed by Jobber? I think it's something that not a lot of people are aware of, and I'd love to give these individuals a little insider information.
Yeah, absolutely. So safety net, and I'm actually not logged into a QBO account. Otherwise, I'd do a quick demo.
Yeah, just a high-level chat.
High-level demo or a high-level chat is, so Ben, inevitably I go into details. Ben is our head of engineering here, super brilliant guy. And at QB Connect, which is the QuickBooks event that down in San Jose, they have a hackathon where they bring in the app developers and say, what can you add to the QuickBooks ecosystem if we give you 24 hours, or maybe it's 36 hours, and a little bit of Red Bull and coffee and chips. And
it's amazing. If anybody goes to QB Connect, you got to check out that session. It's amazing what they do.
It's so cool. I was down there this year, and Ben was doing the hackathon, and I was at the booth talking to people like yourself, Jenny, and Ben was on no sleep and working. But so what he developed was Safety Net, and what it is it's backups for QBO. And maybe Jenny, correct me if I'm wrong, but really the problem it solves is you're working with third-party applications like Jobber. You're doing your sync for the first time. You're a little nervous about it. What you can do is you can basically take a quick snapshot of your QBO data, and then when you bring in Jobber or another application, or if you're trying something new and there's a mistake, you can go back to that snapshot, whether it be 5 minutes before, a day before, a month before, whatever it might be. So it gives you those backups so you can feel a little bit more at ease about making mistakes in QBO. So essentially, that's what it is.
I think it's fabulous. And for some of the mentees that have, they're in the legal industry for their clients, and it's always a hot topic when it comes to, owning the data. Is there a backup? Where is it stored? All that good stuff. This is a way of leveraging that type of concern. I'm not going to say that it would be compliant in that particular workflow that is required, whether it be the Law Society of Upper Canada or wherever, but it is an idea that, yes, we can get a backup of your QuickBooks Online file and store it in a different avenue. So thank you very much for sharing that insider information.
Oh, yeah, no problem. And I did, when we send out the follow-up email, or when you send up the follow-up, Jenny, we can include that video that I did. It's a 60-second video, and the production quality is poor because I'm not a video producer, but it's a really simple application to use. And right now, Safety Net is totally free to use because it's not our main application. Our team is hard at work on Jobber, but it was a really fun side project that, as of right now, it's not in market. It's just kind of a beta project, so free to use.
There you go. You might as well give it a try, folks. It's out there. So. Barret, first of all, thank you so much for taking time. I know you are a very busy fellow, and I know that the individuals on the call are equally busy. So thank you, everybody, for taking some time and learning about Jobber. Again, an excellent solution to your field services clients. I know I'm looking forward to moving in this direction and becoming more involved in the application and knowing its insights and outs with regards to how efficient it's going to make it for my clients. And so there we go. Thank you, everybody. Jenny Moore here, Barret of Jobber. We appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll see you next month on our webinar series.
I'll be here for sure. Thanks so much for having me, Jenny.
Not a problem. Everybody, have yourself a wonderful day. Cheers.
Okay, take care.